Today, we recap the Cubs series and preview the series against the Nationals at PNC Park. You're listening to the Bucco Banner podcast, brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Scotty, cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Or the steak by the plates and
Adam, welcome back, man. We had a week away from each other, and we're about to be away from each other again. But I'm happy to get in one more episode before I go away for 2 whole weeks. You got 4 episodes to do without me, man.
Yeah,
don't have too much fun.
This whole thing might blow up. there might be no Bucco Banner when you get back. We'll see how this goes. But it's good to be back, man. I kept up with it. I was able to listen to the episodes. I wasn't able to watch the games. I did like the YouTube recaps. Unfortunately, man, like I don't know how you're a baseball fan in Europe. It's brutal. The game started like midnight, 1 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, that's true because there's 6 hours ahead, depending on where you're at. Yeah, man, I don't get it either. Even like being in Hawaii last year, which is the opposite direction. And I was there in the fall and you woke up at 7 a.m. to watch NFL games. Like, do people just become morning alcoholics in Hawaii? Because like when I sit down and watch an NFL game, like I kind of want to have a drink and like chill and, it be an event, but it's just so hard for those other time zones to, get into the primetime games here in the States.
Probably like 20-year-old Adam would have hated 7 a.m. football because you go out all Saturday night and you just wake up and you want to die. It doesn't sound as bad now.
I liked it. I'm a morning person, so
yeah, I lived on the West Coast for a year, and the 10 a.m. games were pretty nice. I mean, you still get football all day, but it's not like that anticipation of waiting around all the way till 1 o'clock. But enough of football. I know football's starting tonight. We're not here to talk football. We're here to talk baseball. Like you mentioned, I was gone. I was across the pond. I was in London.
Yeah, tell us about your trip a little bit, man.
Yeah, London, Switzerland, and Amsterdam. All of them great. Claire and I had a great time. It's so funny because I was like walking around a park in London and from a distance, I'm like, oh, look, somebody's playing wiffle ball. And then I got a little bit closer and they were playing cricket. So it's how you know we're a little far away from home. But there's something I want to talk about Pirates related while I was in
Love this story.
Europe, more specifically Amsterdam. Didn't really expect this. So I'm in Amsterdam. We're waiting in line to go to a rooftop bar. It's a long line. We're probably there for like 30 minutes or so. We get to chatting with a young couple that's standing right behind us.
Let me interject real quick. Did you find a seat that you suppose would do on that rooftop bar?
I suppose this seat will do. Yeah, it was a good view. I didn't have anyone yelling at me beforehand, but it was good. But no, we're waiting in line. Like I said, we get to chat with this young couple. The girl is from Ukraine. The guy is from Ireland. They were on a first date.
Oh, man.
They never met before that. He flew. She's like an Amsterdam local. She's from the Ukraine, but she lives, I think, in Rotterdam, Amsterdam area. They're standing there. We get to talking to them. I'm talking to the guy about sports and, yada, yada, yada. And we go like, yeah, hey, we're big baseball people. And like, I didn't tell him I do like a Pirates podcast or anything like that. Cause I'm like, this guy probably doesn't even know who the Pirates are. So I'm kind of like explaining like the long season and how many games they play. And he's like, I really like this one player. He's like, there's this one guy that I really like. He's like, I don't watch baseball. Yeah. And my first thought is like, this guy's definitely talking about Jared Triolo. But no, so I'm thinking in my head, and he's like, yeah, I know this guy. He's like a stud. And yeah, I love him. I love everything he does. I'm thinking in my head, like, man, he's talking about like Aaron Judge, maybe like Juan Soto, Bryce Harper. I'm like, who's this guy talking about? Then he's like trying to think. And I'm like, I threw out, I think, Aaron Judge. He's like, no. He's like the guy with the mustache. And I was like, Paul Skeens? And he goes, Paul Skeens, fucking legend, mate.
The Pirates are a global team, man. With
That's
Paul
the
Skeens.
Skeens effect, man. Granted, he did say he also loves Livy Dunn, and that's why he knows Paul Skeens.
Well, we'll leave that part out. We'll cut that part out.
Yeah, we'll cut that. When we make this a little clip, it's he knows Paul Skeens because of the Pirates. He said he likes him because he's a really down-to-earth guy. So, hey, whatever, we got global reach, baby.
Let's go. I mean, hey, for the guy, if he's listening, we have T-shirts that say Livy Dunn's boyfriend. I think you'd really like those, so you should cop one or two or 500.
Yeah,
up to you, man. But that's
It's,
awesome. That's an incredible story. You told me, and I was like, that is sick.
It was. We were shocked. I was like, what is going on? I was like, there's no way I expected that, because no one thinks about baseball over there for the most part. But no, man, the trip was fun. I'm exhausted. I need a vacation from the vacation, but it was good to get away for a little bit. I think moving forward, I'm going to plan trips outside of baseball season.
Amen to that.
Because it is, it's tough, man. Like it's a lot of work, and for each of us. So props to you for keeping it up and doing a great job. Had some pretty nice posts. Good episode with Cinco, with our buddy Noah. Everything was smooth sailing. So happy to be back for at least one episode until you go off into Italy to go find your long lost family.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
I'm looking forward to it, but I am going to try to keep up as much as possible. I'll listen to the episodes. Best of luck to you, man. I know you got it. If I can do it, a blind squirrel can do it. So
right. Right. There was a lot that happened in baseball, though. When I was gone, it was bad. I was gone for a week. What the fuck happened?
Yeah, I think I might have, or I was thinking about texting you. Don't come back.
Yeah, it was really bad. I kept checking the scores. I'm like, what is happening? Where rock bottom was, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I know you talked about it with Cinco and Noah when they were up like 10-7 or like whatever, and then they blew it 14-10. That's when I was like,
they were up 10-2, 10-3.
Yeah, what is happening? Like absolutely absurdity. But hey, this series was a little bit better. They did get no hit.
Hey, let's think about those first two games. We won the series, right? But I feel like that no hitter really steals the storyline of the whole series.
Yeah, it negates the good play in games 1 and 2.
We only have one loss in Wrigley this year. Is that correct? Didn't we sweep them in Wrigley before?
I think we did. I don't know. I
think we swept them in Wrigley, but I think the two home series were not kind to us.
No, they weren't. And yeah, it's tough, man. They've been no hit 3 times in the Derek Shelton era.
Yeah, that's not good.
It feels like when they got no hit, we were playing softball.
Yeah.
And you were checking the scores, and I'm pretty sure you purposely didn't tell me what was happening after the 7th inning until after the game. I'm like, Scott, what happened? You're like, yeah, they got no hit. I was like, God damn it. Fuck. But yeah, it's rough, man. Because you want to see some type of momentum. You want to see good play no matter what time of the season it is. And that just really, it's so deflating. Everything's already been so down in the dumps. And then you get that. It's not great. And we're recording this on a Thursday. And as I speak, they're actually playing pretty well against the Nationals. And we're going to preview the rest of the National series. But a couple things I want to talk about. Our father podcast, our father network, Just Baseball Show, did a really good job analyzing the Pirates on their latest episode today. Yeah. Go check it out. Even if you don't listen to the full thing, give the first 20 minutes a listen, because I think it's spot on and it mirrors exactly what we have been saying for the past couple months. Okay. The Pirates are bottom 5 in the league in OPS right now. They are bottom 5 in slugging. They are top 5 highest strikeout rate. And just position-wise, overall defensive approach, it's all over the place, right? There's a lot of uncertainty moving forward. And the pieces...
They have to have one of the worst outfield defenses in the league.
And the Brian De La Cruz trade is looking like he could be non-tendered.
Yeah,
in the offseason. I think that's a real possibility. And at the time, we're not going to hug prospects. We really liked Shim. We really liked Forrester. But man, you gave a guy international signing bonus of $750K as like a project, and then you parted with him with a guy that you knew cannot play defense.
Yeah.
That you knew would strike out a ton. I think his WRC plus is like 30 something when he's been with the Pirates.
It's bad. And it's funny because you listen to Just Baseball's prospect podcast called The Call Up. We actually listened and watched that live, or watched it on YouTube before we went down to the spring breakout game against the Orioles. We were like, let's like dive into these like prospects who we're going to be seeing. Like we knew a lot about Skeens, Chandler, they're like the big names, but let's dive into the whole group. And they really broke it down, and they both, Jack and Aram, were both really high on Shim. Like I'm pretty sure they anointed Shim as, if he's healthy, one of the better pitching prospects in baseball.
Yeah, definitely in the Pirate system. I mean, his stuff is absolutely gross. I mean, there's not much film on him out there. And even when we talked to Eric Birdland, it's like, yeah, it's like seeing like a ghost. It's like, it was like very, very quick. And it's like, what did I just see? But I mean, he was dominant in the short time that he had on the complex, but nevertheless, it hasn't worked. And then another thing that they talked about that I found interesting that I mentioned right after the trade deadline, or maybe a couple weeks after, is IKF was a good ad. I really like that. You gave up Charles McAdoo, whatever. IKF does not move the needle for this team. And they mirrored that. They echoed that today on their episode. And it's kind of refreshing that it's not only Pirates fans that are recognizing that, right? It's a league-wide thing. The Pirates have exceeded expectations on paper, at least, right? I mean, it was low, but they exceeded what everybody thought they were going to do for a slight period of time. And then they regressed significantly. Which brings me to my point. When do you say it's enough? At what point, as a fan, as a Pirates diehard, as somebody even in the organization, as a player, as a front office member, when do you say something needs to change? Whether that's a general manager position, which I don't think is going to happen, or a head coaching position, which I know we don't like talking about somebody's job, and we like Shelton as a person, and I think he's done, and I think you would agree with this, with the rosters that he's been given in the past 5 years. He's done well, but not, I mean, he has a losing record, but he's got the short end of the stick when it comes to personnel. A change has to be made, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Absolutely. Listen, we'll talk about also the Shelton blow up, because that was something that was hot in the streets these last 24 hours. But maybe Shelton listened to the last episode with Bucco Banner with Noah, because I actually asked Noah, how hot is his seat? We don't like talking about another man's job, but how hot is it? And he gave some feedback that was pro Shelton, but he also said, like, hey, the good managers out there, like, and the good organizations get the most out of the roster that they're given. And that just hasn't happened here. So, yeah, man, I mean, listen, a change definitely has to be made. And if you look at these other examples, like the Marlins, okay, I like Skip Schumacher's a great manager in a bad position. They got rid of Kim Ng, which didn't make sense, but they brought in Peter Bendix, and he had a really good deadline. I'm not going to lie. Like, I really like what the Marlins did, but he also had, after making the playoffs last year, had no intention. I don't want to say no intention, but like, he wanted his own team. That GMs come in and they want their own team. They want their own manager. They want to build their own castle, if you will. So if Ben were to leave tomorrow or to get fired, is a new GM going to come in and trade Skeens? No, I would think that would be pretty crazy. But I do think that this would be an interesting experiment on how they'd handle this. And I don't think that's the route that Bob's going to go just yet. I think they are going to, I think the writing's on the wall. And we see that with the frustration with Shelton when in these press conferences and his arguing with umpires. I was kind of pissed that he didn't get thrown out the other day when Skeens was pitching, because I was just like, come on, man, get your money's worth. This is your franchise cornerstone, and they're squeezing the hell out of him. Go out there and go ballistic.
That's a good point, because I've had that qualm with Shelton. That's like one of my biggest things is I don't think he backs his players enough. At least
I think he's too nice.
At least publicly.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's been a lot of examples where you got to take one for the team. You got to get thrown out of a game, get the guys fired up. On Eric Hosmer's podcast, they were interviewing George Brett, and George Brett was like, hey, you need to fight. Like, I know this is an old school approach, but Moustakas and Hosmer agreed with him. They're like, yeah, during that Royal season when they won it all, they're like, yeah, we were fighting and getting into it with teams every other week. You have to have that fire no matter what position you're in, or else you're just coasting. It's a long season. And if you're not together as a team and you're not all buying in and you're not all taking it personally, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
And it just seems like there's that lack of fire that they've seemingly given up on the season. And now it's just, let's see what we got with Cruz in center field, which is fine. But let's give Billy McKinney and Michael A. Taylor at bats during a no-hitter in the 9th inning, because why not? It's 11-0. And then you get to the boiling point where you start yelling at beat reporters because you lost 11-0. It's a very valid question that Noah asked.
Absolutely.
And especially when you're considering the context, because it went viral today and everyone's pretty much took Noah's side.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
I didn't see an opposing side.
No. I mean, there was a couple like, dumb question. Like, yeah, of course, like you put in a position player. Rowdy Tellez has just as many outings as
Majinski,
Bednar, Nicholas in like the past 2 weeks.
It's crazy.
He's pitched 3 times. He's about to get fantasy eligibility. Like it's crazy. And you could just tell like these press conferences have kind of reached a point where it's, I don't know, like, what do you want me to say? You know, you can only do at some point you can appreciate not getting coach speak as much as he usually does, but just, I think it's at a point where it's just not working. And that's it. There's too much like what ifs, and like there's some sparks, and then it goes down for 5 games, and then it's like we win one, and it's like you're holding on to straws here. And I don't know where they go for the rest of the season besides just trying to put your best foot forward.
Yeah, listen, I think I just want to know. I think Noah will be the first one to tell you that, like, one, he didn't take offense to that.
Oh, no.
Shelton. Yeah. And like, I think he has respect for Shelton, and I don't think that's a long-standing beef. It's probably over with by now. That was Shelton frustrated with this last month of baseball, and you know, I'm sure he feels pressure. I think in order for him to keep his job, they had to show some like big changes here over this last 5-6 weeks, and it's been trending in the wrong direction. And yeah, he's frustrated. So I think this offseason is going to be very interesting, and I just want to see good baseball for the rest of the season. I like we were at PNC today, and we just showed up early pregame, and it was pretty sad, like how few people were there. People have already turned off the season, and it's pretty noticeable. It's been noticeable the last 2 weeks, by the way. It was tough getting mini mic content like out in the outfield, which is was never a problem all season. So yeah, man, I just want to watch good baseball for the rest of the season, and we'll get into the offseason stuff when we get there.
Yeah, it's hard to win the hearts of people in Pittsburgh if you're not playing well, because football season just started, and it was very apparent even when the Steelers aren't playing. It's like, hey, we're just going to stay home today and watch Thursday night football, because we got there like an hour before, and then we're like, it's just an hour before, because there was nobody there when we showed up. And then about 20 minutes before game time, you're like, oh, nobody is coming. Yeah, there's nobody coming to this game, which, I mean, we'll throw it in there because it is cool. Nick Gonzalez ordered a couple of shirts from us. So shout out Nicky G. Such a nice guy. Had such a cool experience with him today. He took the time to come over and chat with us. Took a picture with the shirt. Go get your Nikki G shirt. It's a really cool one. He likes it. He's going to order them. He said maybe the fam wants some. So those shirts are going to be selling like hotcakes. Get yours while they last. Scott, a couple things happened with the recaps. Big one, left-handed pitcher Joey Wentz off waivers. It was claimed he has a locker at PNC Park, and the corresponding move was Domingo Germán has been DFA'd. Finally, he had -1 solid outing. I think it was against the Dodgers.
Padres. It was all on the West Coast.
Yeah. -1 solid outing. He was a disaster.
Yeah, he was. Don't hit your head on the way out, Domingo. See you later. Sayonara. Don't really care to talk about him anymore. I do want to mention Joey Wentz. He was a first round pick. Well, competitive round. That round after the first. There's usually 8 to a dozen picks. For the Braves in 2016, he was a big arm out of Kansas, out of the Kansas prep scene. And he just hasn't really lived up to expectations. He went from starter to the bullpen, and he got traded to the Tigers. I think it was in the Joe Jimenez trade, who's now the Braves' 8th or 7th inning guy. But regardless, this year he has 38 appearances out of the bullpen for the Tigers. I had a 5.37 ERA, 60 Ks in 55 innings. Hey, this is a 6'5", 220-pound left-hander who's got first round stuff. Why not see what we can do with him? I mean, I think it's a gamble. I'd much rather have him than Domingo Germán. And if Baracki's not going to work out of the pen as a lefty, maybe Joey Wentz is a guy that we have next year. Who knows? But it's a pretty low risk. Hey, let's see what we got here kind of move.
Yeah, of course. Why not? Like you said, at this point, why not? We've already conceded that we're done. I think that's fair to say, right? I'm not trying to sell it short. But you got to roll the dice sometimes. That being said, let's get into Monday's game against the Cubs. I'll get it started here. 5-3 W. As they came back on this one, they were down 3-0. Jamison Taillon threw an absolute gem of a game.
Yeah, he did.
In this 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 Ks. He was just dicing it up, man. But Jared Jones actually had a very good start after he was recalled from AAA from his IL stint. 6 1/3, 6 hits, 3 earned, 1 walk, 4 Ks. Gave up a home run. His ERA is sitting at 3.91. He had 10 whiffs, man.
Yep.
40% usage on the slider. The velo on the slider was up a little bit, almost a tick. 87 pitches, 51 in the zone, 60 for strikes. The velo doesn't seem like it's a problem. He's at 98.5 on the fastball. Here's something I noticed with Jared Jones, which I think we talked earlier in the year of hey, how does this guy take his game to the next level? And at first it was hey, he's pounding the zone with strikes. And that's a recipe for, the long ball. And we saw that very earlier in the year. A lot of solo home runs, which is fine. But how does he take his game to the next level? And I was kind of just doing a deep dive, and I noticed something that kind of is similar to what the pros are for Justin Steele, which we talked about in a week's prior series. Is Justin Steele is very successful with 2 pitches for the most part. Why? Because he can tunnel them. They come from the same arm slot. It looks like it's coming at the same, the same angle every single time, and then you got to pretty much guess what you're getting. There's a pretty, I'm not going to say it's significant, but there's a pretty noticeable difference in his release points when it comes to his slider and his fastball. So I'm wondering if that tunneling gets a little bit better, if that helps him moving forward, or that's something that's going to be pointed out where he could be a little bit more deceptive, and that fastball is going to be even better than it is now, because you kind of have to guess oh, is that going to be a slider? Is that going to be a fastball? It's coming at the same angle, same release point. So that's something to look out for, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because he's got electric stuff, but it's the small things like that. It's going to make him a better pitcher.
Yeah.
So no, it was a really good outing. I actually watched most of it. He had a quality start at Wrigley. So, you know, it was good to see him in prime form. And then also, I feel like Nikki G, just a little bit more on this game. I feel like Nikki G is our guy now. Has multiple multi-hit games since coming off the IL. Like I
Yeah.
just think he's just hitting he's just a hitting machine since coming off the IL, and it's really good to see because I think we have our second baseman of the future.
Yeah, the maturation of Nick Gonzalez is going to be a fun one to watch because we've already know that the significant adjustment that he was able to make in the offseason and then early on in AAA this year before he was recalled. He just continues to barrel balls, man. But most notably, this is the first game that the Pirates announced that they were going to go closer by committee. Dennis Santana got his first save as a Pirate. I think it's his third save of his career. He had a bullpen of Jalen Beeks and Chapman before that. Like you mentioned, Nick Gonzalez 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Reynolds had 3 RBIs on a late home run. And then Andrew McCutchen home run. As a team, only 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 for 8 runners scoring position, 6 left on base. Overall, not bad, right? You fought all the way to the end, and that set you up for a good game going into Skeeton's Day on Tuesday.
Yeah, so we get to Tuesday. Everyone's excited for Skeens. I think Skeens had spent his morning at the Barstool office in Chicago. I saw that on Twitter, at least.
I mean, side note, did you see him shooting a basketball?
Let's not talk about that. It's
can't be good at everything.
But I'll tell you what, have you seen him throwing a football? I mean, he was throwing absolute lasers. So he did the gauntlet at the Barstool office, which was funny to watch. But Skeens Day in Chicago. I mean, one of his best outings this year was his second start of the year against the Cubs. He has 3 starts against the Cubs this year. And he went 5 innings on Tuesday, only gave up 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 4 walks, and 6 Ks. He has a 2.13 ERA now after that start. He generated 16 whiffs. Definitely a big swing and miss game for him. Like I said, that first inning, he was getting squeezed. He had the bases loaded. He got out of it. He walked a couple guys. But he was getting squeezed, man. That strike zone was something. And to see Shelton, I mean, Shelton did enough from the dugout to get tossed. That umpire was just not tossing him, but I would have absolutely gotten my money's worth. Just, I don't want to harp too much on Shelton, but just moments like that where I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Holderman came in, threw an inning and a K. He's looked better since coming back. Majinski, 2 innings, 1 hit, 2 Ks. And Bednar came in a low leverage situation, up 5-0, 1 inning, 1 K. Not many shutouts this year for the Pirates, by the way. 5-0 win. Triolo had a 3-run homer, his 7th on the year. He had 3 RBIs. Just a little bit on Triolo too. I was very serious when talking to Jim Stam at the ballpark last week. I told him, I think Triolo has made some adjustments because his at-bats have looked more competitive, if you will. I know a majority of people might laugh at that, but just something to look out for. I think he had a big hit tonight, and it seems like he's been hitting more consistently and hitting the ball in the air more consistently. And we saw him up close tonight. Like, he's a big dude, man. I think there's potential there. I know it's been a tough season and not something people want to hear right now, but hey, not everyone gets it right away. Some people take a while to develop. And then Nicky G collected 2 hits again. His average is up to 268 after that one. 8 hits total, 2 for 4 with runners in scoring position, 4 left on base, and 9 strikeouts.
Going back to Skeens, out of those 16 whiffs, 10 were on the changeup.
Oh, wow.
10.
Wow, and that has to be high.
Yeah, 47% out of the zone swing percentage. So, you usually see that with the splinker, but he only went to the splinker 14 times, which, again, making adjustments as he goes along, as he matures. 25% zone contact rate. Going back to Bednar, because I know our friend of the show, Cinco, broke it down for us. Like you said, a low leverage situation, but he went 56% four seam, 44% split on 9 pitches. I like putting him in these situations. That was a perfect example of putting him in a spot that he's comfortable, but really not much to lose. I mean, he has given up 5 runs in an inning this year. Cough, cough, Detroit.
Oh my God, that was a tough
Yeah,
one.
but just for the rest of the year, man, I just want to see that. Right? Maybe you give him a couple more save opportunities, but just let him get his feel back.
Yeah.
But yeah, he looked good. Awesome, because that brings me into Wednesday. There's not going to be much to talk about. 12-0. The Pirates got combined no hit. Mike Imanaga the second, excuse me, was unbelievable. I mean, he's been great all year. 7 innings pitched from him, 2 walks, 7 Ks, and then you had Pearson and Hodge finish the game. Domingo Germán, rest in peace. 3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 7 runs, 6 earned, 1 walk, 3 Ks, gave up 2 home runs. Sayonara, my guy.
Let's take off the in peace part from the rest.
Just
rest.
Just
rest in something, but we don't have to go there.
Yeah. You're gone. See ya. Don't have to talk about that anymore. Thank God. You had a bullpen of Jalen Beeks, Kyle Nicholas, Ryan Baraki, and Rowdy Tellez, which was the infamous Noah Hiles game. That will be the question heard around the world. But I have my offensive notes here is just nothing, because there's nothing to talk about. And that it just really did spoil the series, because I think everyone else forgot that they did win this series.
Yep.
They took 2 games, and they've played the Cubs 2 weeks in a row. And I know when they were at PNC, it was rough, and they got ran on like crazy, and they ran up the score, and it just was overall bad. But they did win the series against a hot Cubs team, a team that's trending in the right direction. So hopefully that's able to carry over into this national series. And as we're recording, the Pirates are playing right now, and I will recap that series on Sunday by myself. But let's talk a little bit about what we're going to expect from the Nationals. The Pirates are up 9-3 right now on the top of the 7th. Let's go. The Nationals. This is a young team, a very promising team that I'm going to fall in love with, I think, over the next couple of years, because they got some pieces, man.
They rebuilt their franchise with that Juan Soto trade. And I'm a big fan of the direction that they're heading in. I think they are a young future contender, and future being as soon as next year, potentially.
Yeah. I mean, you got CJ Abrams, who as of late has struggled a little bit, but I mean, he has shown that he can be that dude. Dylan Cruz just got called up, who, for a better part of last year's draft, we were, singing the Dylan Cruz song of, we want him in Pittsburgh. And I would have been fine with that as well. But Dylan Cruz, in his short period of time, has a 101 WRC plus. He's hit 2 bombs. He's crushing lefties. Small sample size, but 364 with 2 bombs, 3 RBIs. Versus righties, 136. So there's going to be an adjustment, but this guy is a stud. But James Wood, man. James Wood is awesome. He's hitting 2. Yeah. He's gross. He's absolutely gross. A lefty bat hitting 277, 371, 427 with a WRC plus of 127. He's got 5 bombs. He's a positive WAR player. Versus righties, hitting 279 with 4 homers. He's got 51 Ks versus righties. And then versus lefties, hitting 274 with a bomb. And he's only got 19 Ks. He's going to be so good. And I mean, again, I mentioned CJ Abrams, and I think they need to get a little bit help with the rotation.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me step in on the rotation and stuff. First of all, they have I love how they've drafted. I'm a big fan of how they draft they go college heavy usually. Brady House is a big name. He could be their future third baseman. You've got Seaver King and Yohandy Morales. Seaver King was at Wake Forest last year. Yohandy Morales was at Miami. Then you have Caleb Lomavita, who was their catcher, second pick this year from University of California. They've got a lot of guys at the college level that are going to move quickly. And I
love that so much.
Love that. And then they've got this rotation. While you look at their stats, they're not like horrible, but they're not super sexy either. These guys getting a year under their belts, like Jake Irvin, DJ Hers, Mitchell Parker. I forget
They're
about
young. They're
they're
young.
young, dude, and getting them this experience now, like they're only going to get better. With I think Mackenzie Gore is legit. I'm a big fan of Mackenzie Gore, and they've got some guys coming up like Travis Sikora, Alex Clemney that they got. He's a high scorer. He's a little bit further off, but they got him from the Guardians in a trade for Lane Thomas. Cade Cavalli potentially coming out of the University of Oklahoma. I mean, they have guys coming, and they draft well, and they do well in the offseason and in the trade deadline. I have a lot of high hopes for this organization.
Yeah. Let's get into it because let's skip over Thursday's game. This game's over by the time you listen to this, or at least we put the clip out. You're going to know what happened. We'll go to Friday. It's going to be DJ Hers versus Luis Ortiz. You mentioned DJ Hers, only 23 years old, 6'2" lefty. He's 2-7 this year with a 4.09 ERA and 70 1/3 pitch. Last 7 games, 1-3 with a 3.18 ERA and 43 Ks. 81st percentile in whiff rate, 89th percentile in K rate. He's got decent extension from the left side with an arsenal of a 4-seam, changeup, slider, and curve. 4-seam heavy here, 54% usage with 94 average on that fastball. This is his put away pitch. It's not by a significant amount. It's his put away pitch by 23.4%. Expected batting average is 197 on the 4-seam. It's a little bit more of like pitching backwards, keeping guys off balance. The changeup's 24% usage, slider 18, curve barely goes to at 3%. Pros, a lot of soft contact for him. He hides the ball well. If you look at his windup, very long, like the arm goes behind the back.
He has that cross body Chris Sale delivery. Yeah.
Right. Arm side. It's going to be hard to pick up, especially for a lefty. So he hides the ball well, long arm motion. Like I said, a lot of soft contact. Cons, tends to lose the zone a little bit.
Yep.
Especially on the secondary pitches, the slide and change specifically. So got to make him work, jump on the fastball when you can. But I know the Pirates do not walk a lot.
Yep.
Be patient. It's going to be a little bit of a trend. You're going to face, after Thursday night with Jake Irvin, you're going to face lefties for the rest of the series, which is going to bring us to Saturday. Scott, do you want to walk us through Mitchell Parker versus Mitch Keller?
Yeah. Before I do that, I just want to add real quick on Hers. I mean, he was acquired last year at the deadline for Heimer Candelario. He was an 8th round pick by the Cubs in 2019 out of high school in North Carolina. Just, like you said, he has that crossbody delivery and he generates a lot of swing and miss with that late carrying deception from his fastball. But yeah, I feel like this is a game where Shelty is going to be really he's going to want to play the matchup. He's not going to want to play your Rowdy Tellez or your O'Neal Cruz. Interesting to see what kind of lineup he puts out tomorrow. But anyways, let's go into Saturday. Let's go to Mitchell Parker versus Mitch Keller, the battle of the Mitches. Mitchell Parker is another lefty, big lefty. He's 7-9, 4.27 ERA this year, 25 games started, 117 Ks. He was the Nationals' 5th round pick in 2020 out of San Jacinto Junior College in Texas. And a name that was never like a top prospect, but like he rose up through the ranks and he made it to the major leagues. He throws his 4-seam almost 50% of the times. It's around 93. He throws his curve around 22% of the times. It's in the low 80s. And he has a split finger and a slider that his splitty sits in the mid to high 80s, and his slider is at around like 84, 10% of the time. His fastball has intriguing characteristics, to say the least. He sits about 92, 93 on the 4-seam from a very high slot that has roughly 20 inches of induced vertical break and cutting action. So he's got interesting fastball movement, but he pairs that with 2 distinct breaking balls, his curve and his slider. His curve being a little bit softer, and his slider being tighter and a little bit harder. So it'll be an interesting matchup. He definitely changes the eye level of the batters, and he's been a surprise pop-up pitcher this year in the National League.
Yeah, that was my main note on him. Is he holds the ball behind him, similar to hers, but it's more of an over the top delivery. Can get hit hard. He's going to pound the zone with the fastball. He's going to stay middle a lot. He's not going to throw the curveball for a strike that often. So he's going to rely on the secondaries for more of a put away pitch once he's ahead of the count with that fastball that you're going to see in the zone. 275 batting average on the four seam. So versus lefties, 284, 362, 296. Versus righties, 245, 298, 429. So a little bit of reverse splits here. So maybe you do see Rowdy. Who knows? Like you said, Shelton likes to play the matchups. One last note that I have here for Mitchell Parker on the road this year. Teams are batting 280, 341, 436. So the numbers haven't been that great for Mitchell when he is outside of Nationals Park. Side note, Nationals Park sucks. That place is such a shithole, man.
The Nationals Park does not want us going live about our thoughts on their ballpark because we have very strong opinions about that place.
Man, that place fucking sucks. It's not good. Sunday, Corbin versus Jared Jones. Patrick Corbin, the vet, lefty, 6'4", 225. Man, I mean, it's been rough for him the past couple of years after. I can't remember. It was like 3 years ago. He had a really solid year. And then it's just kind of gone downhill as he's aged. 5-12, 5.41 ERA and 153 innings pitched this year. He's got 121 strikeouts in his last 7 games. He's 3-2 with a 5.91 ERA. He's been piss poor on the road. 2-7, 6.26 ERA. 5.91. 6.26 ERA, 106 hits, 22 walks. The only really positive for him this year, he still has a semi-high ground ball rate and good extension to disguise, a below average fastball. You want to add something to that?
I mean, no, he's like, since he's joined the Nationals, he may have had one good year at the Nationals, but he's been one of the worst pitchers in the league every year. And this should be a big game for the Pirates offense. We've got Jared Jones on the hill this game.
Yeah.
So it should be a big game for them. You can't get beat by Patrick Corbin. He is, let me look at my notes here. I have on him. I mean, he's the only red categories on Baseball Savant are his ground balls and extension.
Yeah.
So he's going to make you try to beat the ball into the ground, which, hey, we did that against Alex Cobb. That was a tough game to watch. He had perfection into the 7th, but Alex Cobb is a better pitcher than Patrick Corbin. Everything else, man, he's not going to generate a lot of swing and misses. He's not going to generate a lot of chase. He's going to be in the zone a lot. Something that this offense needs to take advantage of and maybe, build up their resume here at the end of the season because, you don't get too many outings like this. And I don't want to make it sound like it's going to be easy, but like you're going into a game against Kyle Hendricks. Like Patrick Corbin's not much different from the left side. He hasn't aged well. And
not at all.
So should be a good one.
Expected batting average this year is 302. The launch angle sweet spot is higher than the league average at 38.1%. The league average is 33.2. So guys are finding that sweet spot and able to elevate the ball very well. It's not going to throw the slider for a strike. It's going to be back foot to righties. He could make you look silly on it, but a lot of times he can hang it as well. The sinker stays in on lefties, away from righties. Doesn't really have a put away pitch. Everything's kind of even throughout. So it's going to be interesting. It's a very lefty heavy rotation here. 2 young guys and then a vet. Really would like to see them build off of what they're doing in today's game. If they're still holding on, which I believe they are. Still 9-3. Yeah. In the top of the 7th. So just finish strong, man. That's all we're asking for is put your best foot forward, put out a good lineup every day, or at least put out guys that you want to see more of. that means Henry Davis, which since he's returned, we have not talked about much, if at all, which is concerning.
Yeah.
Because there hasn't been much to talk about.
No.
It's been pretty much the same. And I can't remember who put out the article a couple of days ago. Stump.
Yep.
He like dropped an ounce on his bat.
He said his bat was too heavy because he wasn't getting to stuff at the top of the zone. But I think there's more to there, Mr. Davis. Like you fly open very very consistently, and you're not going to get to the outside pitch. And I feel like a lot of opposing pitchers pound the outside of the zone, especially fastball, curveball, whatever. He's not going to get the bat on it. You see that front foot fly open, and he's trying to pull everything. Yeah, I mean, he's clearly not getting the stuff at the top of the zone, but there's more to work with there.
I guess where I'm going with is if Henry Davis is here now, and I understand the only reason he probably is here is because Joey Bart went down.
Yep.
He probably wasn't ready, regardless of what his batting average was in AAA. Just get him the at-bats then.
Yep.
Play him as much as you can. Get him that experience. I don't know is there any manipulation happening here with service time as well? I mean, he had...
No, I mean, I just, I don't know if there is a service time potential argument here because I just don't think they think that he's good enough to get at bats. But at the same time, like with the where the organization is right now, where this team is right now, they need to just get him at bats. Like giving at bats to Yasmani Grandal doesn't make sense.
It's like, is Yasmani Grandal good enough to get at bats? Is Michael A. Taylor good enough to get at bats? Is Billy McKinney good enough to get at bats? Absolutely not. Is Brian De La Cruz good enough to get at bats? Probably not. No. Probably not. But like, you gotta just play with the cards that you're dealt. And right now, Henry Davis is he's there, and we got to make the most of it. You got guys like Nicky G who have come back and they're playing well, and like you said, they've shown that they could be a key piece to the future. There's going to be it's going to be an interesting offseason. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but there's going to be a lot of moving pieces and what ifs and what moves they make that are going to be a big determination on whether guys like Brian De La Cruz, Henry Davis, whoever's going to play first base work out. You know what I mean? It's a lot, but we'll see, man. We just got to enjoy the rest of the season as it is.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a big series this week against Nationals. We can get a couple wins here. Against a team that's up and coming as well. That's ahead of us for sure in terms of we have a better record, but in a similar situation, if you will. And then next week, I'm not sure who we start the week with, but that doesn't matter. Let's finish this weekend strong with the Nationals, especially at home. And just let's show improvement through this last month of baseball.
It's the Marlins next week, which I think we might have another Adam Cinco appearance on the pod, either to preview it on Sunday or to recap it on Wednesday or Thursday. If you don't already go through this every week, if you're just hearing it for the first time, go to Instagram, go to Twitter, go to TikTok, go to Threads, follow us. It's Bucco Banner Pod on X and then Bucco Banner everywhere else. You could watch us. You could look at our faces as we speak Pirates at you. Go subscribe to the YouTube, leave a comment, hit the like button, tell us what you're thinking. You can also find the shorts on there as well. So a lot of content coming your way. We wish Scott the best in Italy as he goes on into wine country, eats a ton of pasta. He's going to come back weighing 100 pounds more. Go to buccobanner.com, buy merch. We're both wearing it right now. Are we wearing the same shirt or did you change?
No, I changed.
Yeah. Get your Bucco Banner merch. Nicky G loves it. Jared Jones loves it, which means you love it. Go buy it now. Take a picture of your shirt. Tag us. Until then, you can catch a at least myself at the ballpark over the next couple of weeks, giving away some trivia. And let's raise it.
Well said, Adam. Let's raise it.
Rockin' 101, shit, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates, or the steak by the plates. And